This paperwork clears you for departure, but we need you to sign here first.
Just give me the pen. We really must get going.
The former soldier was arrested at Sydney's domestic airport this morning and is expected to face a New South Wales court later today.
Claims tonight Harry and Meghan's security has been compromised just hours before they're due to arrive in Australia.
I don't like her at all. Don't come here in Australia. You don't belong here in Australia. We don't want you here.
No, they seemed quite pleasant. I think they were quite chatty as well, and they're pretty.
Y'all, imagine stepping off a long flight, cameras flashing, people watching your every move, and then suddenly you're not being welcomed, you're being questioned. That's the situation swirling right now around Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, with claims that officials in Australia didn't just greet them, they allegedly detained them, pulled them aside over questions tied to missing charity money. And here's the part that makes this hit different. This trip was already drowning in controversy before their plane even touched the ground.
Well, Harry and Meghan are in the country, and here at the Late Debate, we've got exclusive footage of their arrival in this country. And I think we can all agree that's all that needs to be said about those two.
So when people heard detained, they didn't even hesitate. They said, yeah, that tracks. Now let's slow this down for a second. Because to understand why those rumors exploded so fast, you gotta look at what was already building in the background. Before this trip even started, people in Australia were already pushing back hard. We're talking about a petition with over 47,000 signatures basically saying don't spend a single dollar of taxpayer money supporting this visit. And that right there is where the tone changed instantly. Because this wasn't just a celebrity visit people were side-eyeing, this was being labeled something way more uncomfortable, a fake royal tour.
A lot of the media coverage here at least has been relatively negative in the run-up to this visit. There's a lot of talk of them being grifters, about using Australia as their own personal ATM machine. There's been a lot of concern about the fact that the local state police are having to plough some resources into this trip in order to keep the public safe.
Now think about that wording for a second. Fake royal tour. That means people are looking at Harry and Meghan and saying, you walked away from the royal system, but you're still moving like you're inside it. And that contradiction, that's where the money conversation starts creeping in. Because while they're saying this trip is private, reports are showing high-end events, exclusive access, and ticket prices that only elite circles can even afford. And then you start hearing critics say things like this. They're milking Australia for the money they can make out of it.
They're milking Australia for the money they can make out of it.
Well, and I mean, based on ticket sales for not only Harry, but Meghan Markle's retreat, they've miraculously discovered some new tickets for sale.
Have they? So it isn't sold out.
Now that right there, that's not just shade, that's an accusation. And once that narrative lands, everything they do starts getting looked at differently, even the charity work. Because one of their first stops was the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne, and on the surface it looks like a normal visit. They met kids, took photos, spent time with families, and some of those kids genuinely said it made their day better.
Really cool. I loved meeting them. I was really bummed because I found out I recently relapsed with leukemia for the 4th time. So this meeting today just perked up my day a lot.
It's honestly the best medicine. Yes, she's just been so down and hasn't been able to do anything or see anyone. She's been feeling so unwell. So this is honestly the best thing that could have happened.
But at the same time, another side of the internet is watching that same moment and calling it something else entirely. They're saying it felt staged, like a photo op, like the cameras mattered more. And just like that, one moment turned into 2 completely different stories. One version says they showed up for sick kids. The other version says the kids were used to fix their image. And once that divide opens up, everything else starts getting questioned too. Now here's where things start getting heavier, and honestly gets way more serious. This isn't just about appearances anymore. This is where the money talk turns into real legal tension. Because at the exact same time this tour is happening, a charity Harry helped start, sent to Bali's now suing him. And this isn't a small disagreement either. They're accusing him of damaging their reputation, pushing false narratives, and creating a situation that caused real harm to the organization.
What they're saying, they're alleging this adverse media campaign since March 2025, saying it's caused this reputational damage, as well as operational disruption and bullying of leadership.
Now, step back and look at how this plays out from the outside. You're in a different country, moving in circles tied to money and power, while at the same time, a charity connected to your name claims you caused harm. That's the moment people start linking things together, even when nothing is fully proven. That's when talk of missing millions spreads quicker than the actual truth. And while all of this is happening, Harry is out here giving speeches about mental health and growth. He even opened up about parenting, saying each generation should be an upgrade. And look, on its own, that's a normal statement. But inside this situation, it hits different. Because while he's talking about evolving and doing better, the headlines around him are going in the opposite direction, and people notice that disconnect. Now let's switch it up for a moment. While Harry's out there handling public events, Meghan's movements during parts of the trip felt a little hard to pin down. Reports say there were moments where her schedule wasn't even publicly listed, and that mystery, it just added more fuel to everything already going on. Because at this point, the public isn't just watching what they do, they're watching what they don't show. And then you've got media personalities jumping in, turning the heat up even more. Some straight up saying Australia shouldn't even be covering the cost of security for them.
They're not getting the kind of protection you would expect members of the royal family to get when they're here on a tour. Nonetheless, clearly there has to be some crowd control, and I think that is what Australian taxpayers could potentially be paying for.
Others going further, saying the country doesn't want them there at all.
I'm not going to get a welcome reception here this week after they disrespected this country, disrespected the Queen, and the entire royal family. We don't want you here, Meghan, and we don't want you here, Harry.
And when it reaches that level, it stops being simple criticism. It turns into rejection. Now here's where things get even messier, because the more backlash they got, the more their team reportedly pushed back. Sources say they were frustrated by the negative headlines, surprised by the political reactions, and caught off guard by how intense the response was. But the truth is, the backlash didn't just appear for no reason. It was layered. Money issues, public funding debates, doubts about authenticity, and that fake royal tour label hovering over it all. Now add this on top of it, because this part right here made people look at the whole trip sideways. There were claims that some of the events they attended weren't just appearances, they were business moves. One clip even shows Meghan being introduced as royalty while appearing on a commercial platform.
We've had MasterChef royalty in the kitchen before, but no one like this. All the way from sunny California, please welcome to MasterChef Australia, the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle!
And that's where the confusion turns into frustration for a lot of people. Because the question becomes, are they private citizens or are they still operating like working royals? And depending on how you answer that, this entire trip either makes sense or it doesn't. Now let's take it back to the beginning, that airport moment. Because whether the detainment rumor is fully confirmed or not, the reason it spread so fast is clear. Everything that happened before had people already on edge, ready to believe it. There were money accusations, a charity lawsuit, public backlash, and political frustration. So when word came out that officials questioned them, it didn't feel out of nowhere. It felt like the next step. And that's what makes the situation so different from their past trips. So the real question isn't even about Australia anymore. It's this: are they being unfairly targeted? Or are people finally starting to see something that's been there all along? Because if the pressure keeps building like this story doesn't end here. It escalates. And the next time their names pop up in headlines, it might not just be rumors people are reacting to. It might be something a lot harder to ignore.